Hello and welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy, and governance. I am Shafiu Suleiman. I apologize for slightly starting behind schedule. Now, we have in the studio a very respected gentleman, an elder statesman, talking about Alhaji Idi Farouk, former Director General of the National Orientation Agency. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
And Iftar Mubarak. Iftar Mubarak. Okay, together we'll be looking at the state of the nation. And of course, you are very much aware of the fact that Nigeria as a country is evolving, and from every facet, from economy to polity, and so on. Thank you very much once again for joining us. Now, let's go straight into our conversation. Alhaji Idi Farouk, welcome once again.
Thank you very much
right.
for having me.
Right. Okay, let me start by getting your assessment, if you like. Your assessment of the handling of the affairs of Nigeria by the present administration, or the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. How do you see, his ways of handling Nigeria's affairs? So much expectations on him, when he emerged president after the tenure of President Muhammadu Buhari.
As aspirant and as candidate, the candidate himself will always have an idea of what he or she intends to do if elected into office. When you are elected into office, it becomes another ball game altogether. Yes. Because until you sit on that table, you will not know the extent to which I don't want to
challenges
to which rubbishes and rot have taken place. So I am very much in sympathy with President Bola Tinubu, because I think as he opens the books and sees the books, he begins to see the rot to which he had promised Nigerians that he was going to do.
Right.
Meaning that he was going to give them good governance, which is one point on its own. Is going to make sure that A, B, C, D things are done, including, of course, removing the subsidy of fuel and all that. But now that he has been on the seat, he has seen the extent to which damage has been done to the Nigerian project. So I don't envy him. And now to your question, how far has he
been
gone
handling the affairs, right?
Thus far? In the area of, one, I'm not an economist, but I go to the market.
Yeah.
My wife goes to the market. So I know the price of beans yesterday, and I know it today. In that wise, has he fared well? The answer is no. In the area of security, our police and our army put together, I have my doubts if they make up to 100,000 in number. So we don't have enough boots on the ground.
Around 800,000, some say, put together. Around 800,000, some say, put together.
800,000 is not enough.
And not up to 1 million.
The army, our army is one of the best in Africa, probably even in the world.
That's right.
But we have taken them and spread them so thin that they cannot be effective. Our police, I do not know the number, but should be like about 300 or so thousand.
Yeah, I'm talking about a summary of all the security agencies. And the
I'm talking about the police now.
Okay, specifically.
50% of them are in government houses with big men and big women, not giving the required service to the general public. If I was Governor Tinubu and President Tinubu,
right,
I will hire mercenaries to help fight this fight.
But why should we look for mercenaries when we have able-bodied young men who are interested and have been applying year in, year out?
The issue here is
into the
that
services.
we have what?
We have but able-bodied men, young men, very strong young men who have been
Exactly, but we have to bring them in for orientation and other matters now if they're in the reserve service, so to speak. But in the interim, whilst we are giving them that orientation and training, havoc is going on. It is in the very short term, in my opinion. I'm saying, invite these people to help, whilst you get more boots
on ground
in the service. It's not as if to say we can't do it alone. We have done it in so many places, but one, we are understaffed. If you do not have enough cameramen in Trust TV, we wouldn't be on air.
That's right.
So you have to have, and if you don't have, you probably might even need to hire.
Yeah.
Come and run this thing for this program or that program. That's how this thing should be run.
Even though some would say, perhaps, the world is evolving, as we say.
Say again?
The world is evolving, as we say. Technology has taken a lot of some of these things we are talking about, the boots on ground. And even there are people who felt that we should change our mentality towards addressing insecurity beyond just the boots, and the bombs, so to speak. There is need for us to look at the non-kinetic measures. Fundamentally, you talked about poverty, you talked about insecurity.
Kinetic,
right.
And I hear this kinetic and non-kinetic. What does it really mean? When you have to apply kinetic, you apply it. Because if you do not apply kinetic in an issue that requires kinetic, you would lose people and you won't succeed.
So if I understand your position, there should be a carrot and stick approach. It shouldn't just be one straight jacket
There
approach.
is nothing wrong with the carrot and stick approach. But the stick, in most cases, should come first.
Right.
So it's not the carrot and stick, it is the stick and carrot.
Okay. So if I understand your summary, the security situation has not been handled effectively.
No, it has not been.
Okay. You talked about the gaps, you talk about the gaps, we don't have enough men to address
Exactly.
it. And that's one aspect of it. Okay.
In the area of economy, I'm not an economist.
Yes.
I just told you about going into the market. When you want to know the economy of
the
your
realities
country and the reality,
that's right.
Go to the market.
Yes.
Go to any market in Nigeria. As a matter of fact, if you are such that are very slow and sluggish, you price something now and you are dissatisfied, you want to go check some. By the time you come back to that same price, it has changed.
That's right.
And has gone upward.
Right. Okay, before we contextualize the issues, we're talking about economy, insecurity. I want us to also look at the state of the union. Before the coming of President Bola Tinubu, there has been concerns around, so much division in the state of affairs. The North-South divide, issues around nepotism and all of that. So the expectations were, when President Bola Tinubu came on board, some of these things will be addressed. Do you see him approaching, these issues the right way?
The divide, is so-called divide, and it is created by politicians and our approach to getting into office and that kind of. I don't see Nigeria as a divided country. I have never ever seen this divide. But we keep reading about divide. What is Tinubu doing? He is employing all such that requires to be employed, going by the Constitution and going by the Constitution that says each state must have this, each state must have that. And I have seen him bringing clerics because that's where the even the divide seems to be even more.
Okay.
Bringing clerics together to talk to them in the interest of Nigeria and peace. Let our preachings be, let it be preachings. Let it not be preachings of violence,
about hatred, and
or these people are against you, these people are against you. But it is the stock in trade of leaders of religion to continue to bring that, to maybe get more people on their side. Otherwise, the divide, as is being said, I do not see it.
Yes, but then people said, action speaks louder than voice. For instance, action speaks louder than voice. The body language, or how he managed.
Excuse me, body. God gave us the full complement of everything we require. I don't know what you mean by body language. Body has no language. Body is the mouth. Gives us what we want to hear, not as you carry yourself. I don't know where we will come about body language and thinking that body language itself is when you look at somebody and say his body language is like this. If the man wants to speak, let him speak. Don't tell me body language has spoken.
But
body language does
the point I'm trying to make is this.
Yes.
When you wanted to inspire hope, among citizens, citizens would want to see you do things the right way, perhaps. They also want to see you guarantee justice, ensure that everyone is carried along. The concerns earlier was that, okay, in terms of appointment, there was skewed, if you like, in favor of a particular region, because the man at the helm of affairs is actually from that region. And when President Tinubu came on board, the expectations were that he's going to address that gap. But it became apparent that...
Which gap is he going to address?
The so-called nepotism, the so-called nepotism posture that was tagged, the previous administration was tagged with. The concern is that will be rectified, but it continued, on the same trajectory.
It looks like that, and I also condemn it, because you have good materials in every state of Nigeria. Anything you want, you get in each state of Nigeria. If you want the best brain surgeon, you will get them in the state if you research well. But my take, generally speaking, I'm sure you are talking about the economy now, without saying it.
We'll talk about the economy.
I now saw your body language.
We'll talk about the economy. But I'm certainly talking about the union, inspiring hope, among the citizens.
Yes.
For them to understand that...
What has he done that does not inspire hope?
I was talking about the appointments,
The appointments?
Yeah, yes. Some are concerned about how they are going.
That's why I talked about the economy. Because if you go through his every state in Nigeria has a minister. Let us take at that level first. Every state
in the cabinet level.
But the economy, the ministries that are involved with the economy, more or less like taken over by some certain tribe. But my take here is that I also watch football. If Nigeria is playing football, we put in in our opinion, or better still, in the opinion of the
coaches or the handlers.
Yes, the handlers of the team put in the best team. And if you go through the list of the people on board. It is tilted towards a certain tribe. But we all enjoy the football and we all hail when goals are scored. And when we condemn, it's not we don't condemn them because of their tribe. We just condemn that our team is not good, is not properly
doing well. Yeah.
In the opinion of Mr. President, I think he wants to make the economy, because himself has a background of economy.
That's right. So, having been a banker and all of that.
Say?
Having been in the banking system, at the beginning.
He has taken the team that is very comfortable with. The only problem we are having is that that team has not scored enough goals that we would applaud them for.
Right, okay, we'll talk about the deliverables. Now, let's talk about distribution of resources, because it's also problematic. Not long ago, there were concerns around how the budget 2024 was, structured. The suspended Senator Abdul Ningi, raised some concerns. There's some certain projects, some of these funds, especially the ones believed to have been padded, were skewed in favor of certain regions against the North, for instance. And there has been also concerns around resources allocated to some key projects, for instance. Yes, there is need for an even development in the country. There is also need to prioritize projects that have direct bearings on the people. We said we want to take people out of poverty, for instance. There is need to see that practically being addressed. A number of projects were very critical, in the last administration, for instance. Some are targeted towards, economic recovery or economic revival. Take, for instance, a number of projects like the AKK project, that is
which one?
The AKK project, the Ajaokuta Kaduna Kano, gas pipeline, which was designed, to address the collapsed industries. They need to power the industries that have collapsed. Again, there are a number of other projects like the inland dry ports that were designed by the late Eradua administration, to also provide ease of doing business in the import-export sector. There are also other projects that are key. We've had the Bauchi Kolmani oil exploration project and all of that. But if you look at the budget and you see what was allocated some of these projects, it raised a lot of concerns. Do you see, that as a fundamental gap that ought to have been addressed?
First, I support Abdul Ningi 100%, in the sense that he is a senator and who has gone through the budget. I haven't gone through that budget, but from what we hear, it is even childish. I must use the word childish, some of the things that they have even done. But before I even make comments on that, the Buhari administration had 8 years. Did nothing, so to speak. Nothing that you can point to as a legacy. Not even the road from here, Abuja, to Kaduna, where he resides and lives in.
Not completed, right?
No, it's not a matter of, it's not done.
The work is still ongoing.
Work is now in progress, but not just under him. So, and all these what do they call themselves? What they put themselves?
Constituency projects.
Constituency project. I wonder how we can get to such childish approach to budget making. I want to get out of this.
Is it childish or self-serving? Is it childish or self-serving? To them, they see it as a viable project because they, in the end, the final analysis.
But even then, I thought we have been having so many constituency projects. Somebody told me that if we go back to when we began constituency project, we will not have anywhere in Nigeria to put borehole. because the constituency projects that we've been having over the years also has a lot of boreholes, so to speak. Excuse me, budgets cannot be done like that in a federation.
Yeah.
And Abdul Lingi's complaint is that he saw the budget and there's 2 billion,
3.7 billion.
2 point something billion or something to Bauchi state, and there are some other states getting up to 500 billion for constituency projects. If you want to do constituency projects, you have 774 local governments.
That's right.
Why don't you do it based on local governments? Meaning that assuming like Kano has 44 local governments.
That's right.
You cannot
compare with Bayelsa,
you
for
said
instance.
for each local government, we provide X amount. The only way you can be fair. But if you are doing it at your own whims and caprice, as it has been done, it's a disgrace.
Right. In line with your submission, we had an economist just last week who talked about the best way to address even this poverty issue that has become endemic. That if, for instance, the government is serious about addressing poverty, all it needs to do is to distribute resources, just like you said, distribute projects across the 774 local governments. Earmark, let's say ₦1 billion each for each local government. For projects, tie those monies to projects, bridges, boreholes, roads, and all of it. Tie them to specific projects that you want to be carried out. Then you now get people working, and then you get the economy moving. But that seems not to be the approach.
I agree with that economist, because for as long as there is work going on all over Nigeria, the economy is, and Naira is changing hands. 1 Naira changes hand into about 10, 15, 20 places.
That's right.
We are making good progress.
Yeah.
But the way they do budgets these days, I even wonder. You know, budget, you belong, you are from the ministry A, you are charged with certain responsibilities, and it is time for budget. You sit down where you are with your team, what do we do? And then you get to go there and then you present.
But in this case...
something very, very funny happens. They call it envelope system.
Yeah, that's it.
What is this envelope system for? You give the ministry an envelope to say that you and your parastatals cannot spend more than X amount. So where is the budget?
And another fraudulent question, if you like, another fraudulent issue that was raised was how even monies are channeled towards certain ministries without, for ministries that do not have competencies to execute such projects, monies were just tied down into some ministries without specific allocation as to what the money is meant for.
You know that everywhere I go, because I had headed the National Orientation Agency.
That's right.
I keep hearing, what is National Orientation Agency doing? What is National Orientation Agency doing? First, apart from the one you see on television every day, there are other things that they do, including, writing reports. In some cases, even damning reports against to government direct. And I recall that in one of our discussions, one time behind, with His Excellency Bola Tinubu, he told me that he relied on the reports from the National Orientation Agency. You understand? Because we have nothing to hide in National Orientation Agency. The ministries have the agency. The security can have hide. So the National gives it as it is. He says he relies. He even commends the director there, Mr. Kaka. Having said that, what is the fund? Funds meant for mobilizing the general public, educating them. You get what I mean? And giving them orientation. What is the fund doing in INEC? You see, so basically they go in, they put in their budget, take what is supposed to be due to National Orientation Agency, and they lack the capacity.
Right, okay, we were talking about much about how to get the national orientation working. Yes, during your time, it was very much functional, and it was all over the country. It is respected. It has a grassroots appeal. And
no.
And all
you
of
see,
that.
when people compare, you don't compare times. You can't say my time was.
But we need to know what was done right then and what is not being done.
Yeah, the problem
correctly
is
now.
The monies due to national attention keeps dwindling. I want to say it in my time. I want to say I had some good budget, because if you make you need television, you need radio, you need the newspapers. So if whatever jingle National Orientation makes on whatever issue, it pays for it, just like Coca-Cola. So
like a
agency is fighting for airspace with Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola. Where does it stand? Onga, one new.
Because we don't need to advertise it. Okay, we'll talk about that when we return, especially now that the government has restructured that ministry, giving prime place for national orientation. The nomenclature now is information and national orientation.
I wonder where you get the fact that the government has restructured and given prime place for national orientation.
In terms of the nomenclature, it is now information and national orientation. So we'll look at that.
Okay.
What is the essence, and how that is going to be handled properly. In case you're just joining us, the program is Daily Politics, and today we're looking at State of the Nation with elder statesman Idi Farouk, a former Director General of the National Orientation Agency. We'll take a break, and when we return, we'll continue with the conversation. Stay with us. Thank you very much for staying with us on Daily Politics. You can do well by joining us across our social platforms. You can also watch us live on YouTube. And today we're looking at State of the Nation with an elder statesman, Idi Farouk. We are back. Just before the break, yes, we're looking at the fundamental need for national orientation, perhaps value reorientation and awareness. Mass mobilization and awareness, which is very central. And now we have a government that seems to have noticed that. Before now we used to have what is called National Ministry of Information and Culture, right? And now we have what is called Ministry of Information and National Orientation. And that is the reason why I said there is a prime place for national orientation. But perhaps what we are not seeing is, what you're talking about, funding. Is there the needed funding for this?
The truth about it is that it doesn't matter where you place it.
Yes.
It matters is that of funding and adequate funding.
That's right.
I recall that in one of my budget defense, I had costs because I was to defend it in a smaller committee of the Committee on National Orientation. There were like 10 members.
Yes.
And I saw the figure for mobilization. And I told them that cannot apply correctly. And I even then used them as examples. For them to reach this position where they are today as National Assembly members, none of them, could have spent less than 100 million naira. Because you have to do postering, because you have to go on
publicity is capital intensive.
It is capital intensive. And until we recognize that, we will still be asking the question, what has National Orientation Agency been doing?
I saw some suggested at some point.
Don't forget that when MAMSA, because it's when MAMSA was on ground, under Jerry Ghana, it was like a government of its own. So people got to know it, people got to feel it. But even as we speak,
grassrooted,
But even as we speak, the only agency of government known at that grassroots level today is National Orientation Agency.
It still has the structures.
Because the structure is all over Nigeria.
Oh, okay. This is in line with some suggestions, some people felt that there is need for offices. There is need to establish offices of national orientation agencies in ministries. In ministries, all the ministries. There should be a national orientation office, specifically to publicize,
the ministry should have their own PR department. What is national orientation doing with them? National orientation is for people, is people-oriented, not working for the ministries. I don't see what they can do when the ministry will have a PR person who, and they even have a director of this
information and so on.
So, as it is presently put in place, nothing is wrong with it. The only thing wrong with it is that it's not properly and adequately funded.
Right. Okay, is that the reason why, there's so much negatives about Nigeria? Countries around the world have their own challenges. We hardly hear of such challenges. But in our case, in Nigeria, it's always, the narrative is negative, the narrative.
Yes?
Yes. Most of the time it's negative. Why is it difficult for us as a country to be able to push our positive narratives?
Please note that whilst National Orientation Agency is doing its work in mobilizing and educating people, the mosques and the churches are also doing their work implanting wrong and falsehood, so to speak, among the public. So the competition again, and even parents who have responsibility of bringing their children up will say National Orientation is not doing its job. It is the aggregate of all this put together. You get what I mean? And then the National Orientation Agency, in my opinion, as the umbrella body, takes that over. That's when we get good
result.
Good results, so to speak.
Okay.
As we speak today, have you watched what's going on? Even President Bola Tinubu, in his meeting with the religious elders and leaders, I think he begged them, let us pray for our country. And let me also say, Nigeria is one of the best countries in the world, as far as I'm concerned. But that's for another day.
Right, okay. Well, let's come back to the State of the Union, and the state of the economy, because they are tight, There has been recent push around the need to change the governance system. Some are beginning to push for return to the parliamentary system. And most of those doing that are also putting into consideration, the cost of governance in the country. Where would you support? Yes.
Where I am, you said some. I'm inside that some. Pushing for for parliamentary system. We have too many wastages. You got them. We have Senate 109, House of Representatives 300 and something, put together 500 and something. Each one buying new vehicles. In fact, I want to use this medium to even ask, what happens to the vehicles that were bought for the last people? Do they take them away?
Yeah, I think that is the practice.
No, it cannot be the practice. Because when you take it away, you have stolen it.
Is it a part of the...
Because the vehicle is attached to the office. And because you are occupying that office, you are driving the vehicle. But when you leave that office, somebody else will be there. So basically, but going back to your... I am for parliamentary system. Because in the parliamentary system, first, the prime minister now will be accountable to the people because he is a member of the House, and therefore we will hear him on everything, and the opposition will give the right opposition. You get what I mean? Public. We all see these things. We even see the one of America, of London, of England, and any other places.
But they are not contradictions. Sometimes we're talking about, having a lame, a government structure. At the same time, we're also talking about the need to decentralize government. There is need to, empower the components, the states, the local governments, and so on. Some are beginning to think that the central nature of our governance system is faulty, where so much resources is allocated to the center, or rather is handled by the center. And today that is why there is mediocrity in the system. Today is the reason why we are having poor governance at the other levels of government. Today is the reason why governors have to come to the center monthly, cap in hand, to collect revenue that is being shared by the FAC and so on, instead of thinking of how they can utilize, how they can, advance their internally generated revenues.
You're answering the question yourself. The idea is not about coming to Abuja only to collect money. What are you doing to generate? Because there is nowhere in Nigeria that is not fertile. Fertile now for the issue of generating revenue, if you think right. But if you are lazy, because that's what the coming to Abuja has created, lazy thinking persons.
But how do we discourage that? Some say there is need to tinker. How do you discourage that? Some say there is need to tinker with the Constitution.
Excuse me, by talking more about it and telling them, for goodness sake, you have fertile ground. Do something about it. Lagos now has done something about it. Lagos is like a country. Because Lagos's budget is more than 10 states put together.
Especially
what are they doing? What are they doing right? And when you are wherever you are, you must pay. You can pay a visit, to a colleague to ask, what are you doing?
Some suggest
I am suffering.
Some suggest this peer review mechanism, a kind of peer review
exactly at all times
among the governors.
Because there is money everywhere in Nigeria. There is money everywhere in Nigeria. It's just that, like I say, it has created lazy-minded people who just come in here every month, collect FAC, and go back.
So even the one
the money they get now.
Okay, even the one they are collecting, is it accountable? Are they accountable for
now? Under the Bola Tinubu, what's it called?
The subsidy.
Since he scrapped the
subsidy,
Yeah, exactly.
The revenue quadrupled.
They're getting lots of money.
Yes.
What are they doing with it? You get what I mean? So, you see, the truth is that we needed people who can think out of the box.
But isn't it a constitutional matter, for instance? Because some will say we have to review the Constitution. The state governments are independent on their own. The local governments are independent, and their resources are also independent.
Local governments are independent.
No, that's how it should be ordinarily.
That's how it should be.
but we know what it is today.
Exactly.
Their resources are cornered by the states and all of that. So, but how do we, without reviewing the Constitution, there's nobody that can checkmate the states. The executives, the president at the center cannot checkmate what the governors are doing. He can only share the resources, but he cannot ask for accountability.
No, even locals, that is why we must all rise up. Because the money in the hands of government is our money. You understand? It is our money. So we must be more involved, and we ask. You carry a placard to government house and says, I want to know what you're doing with my money. If he sees it every day, he begins to think.
But constitutionally, you have people representing you, even at the House of Assembly level. Fundamentally, they are people's representatives. So what are they doing?
That's why I want to give kudos, even as we speak, to the governor of Abia, who revoked, I hope I'm using the right word.
Yes.
Yeah, who revoked that stealing
pensions and what have you.
You have worked, you have not worked well for the people, and then every month, even after you have gone, the state pays you money, 12 million, 13 million as the case may be, build you a house, and you don't even qualify.
Some even collect triple.
You're not qualified.
You collect as governor, you collect as senator, for instance, and then you collect as a former military officer or something. So
what is going on in our system?
A number of largesse, so to speak. Okay.
No, but this madness must stop.
Right.
But it can only stop with people like you bringing it to the fore for people to see what it means.
Yeah, but beyond talking, we have to look at the laws. Some say there was a conference recently. I think it was in Lagos or so, and some elder statesmen, participants at that forum, were beginning to think that Nigeria even need a new constitution. Do you agree with them?
Whether we need a new constitution?
Yes.
You see, we are not. It's not our laws that are our problem. It's in how we implement these laws, basically.
But we're talking about how they are constituting bottlenecks. For instance, yes. Let's use one typical example. The previous administration, President Muhammadu Buhari, came up with an executive order wanting resources for local government to go to local government without being intercepted by the states. There were some constitutional amendment to that effect. It was taken to the states. There's this need for concurrence. 2/3 of the state assemblies in Nigeria would have to adopt or rather agree and endorse that. But because the state governors are in control of their states, this didn't see the light of the day. Isn't this a constitutional matter?
It is. It's very lamentable. But we must also do some thinking out of the box on how we challenge this. Because I have served as a local government chairman in 1987, thereabouts.
I think Kaduna North also.
And we had our money. We build our roads. We have our hospitals to equip. I'm talking about my local government. I was Kaduna local government chairman in that period. The monies come to us. Goes to the Minister of what's it called? Who gives us our money?
Minister of Local Government.
We sit down. We have our own cabinet, so to speak, and we are assigned.
There are projects allocated,
and we do all this.
Right. Okay. Because time is not on us, and I want you to make a comment on what is happening in Kaduna. As one of the leaders of the Kaduna Restoration Group, how are you looking at this?
Kaduna who?
Restoration Group, KRG. I remember.
I'm not a leader in that sense,
but you were part of that group.
I'm a 75-year-old man, no longer interested in any group.
Yes. Well,
but what do you want to ask?
As a citizen, as an active citizen of Kaduna State, one who has been following with keen interest what has been happening in the last administration and the current one, what do you make up with this back and forth or rather lamentations around budget? Loan burden, that was said to have been pushed to the...
It is extremely very sad that I even recall that in one state, I won't mention here now, when the governor who took over was telling me that the governor from him he took over, as close and friendly as they are, took a loan of, I can't remember how many billion, in March of the year he was going out. Took a loan of that much, and then the recovery will begin in June.
3 months after.
3 months after. So this man just came to meet in this kind of what's it called. I think that if our EFCC and the rest, nothing is wrong with taking a loan. Nothing is wrong with taking
Besides,
as long
you
as
talk
it's
about Lagos
applied.
as one of the most indebted.
Yes.
Yes.
So basically, I feel sorry for Obasani, because for him to come out crying, he is really, really in pain.
But was he not part of the arrangement? He was the architect of it. He was the architect of it. He spearheaded everything.
That is what I said. As candidate, you think you know it all. You only know all when you sit on the seat as the governor.
Right.
Then you will begin to see
the realities.
The reality of the things you have done.
Thank you very much, Alhaji Idi Farouk. We have to come to an end to this conversation. Thank you very much for your informed perspectives. In case just joining us, I've been interfacing with Alhaji Idi Farouk, an elder statesman, a former Director General of the National Orientation Agency. At some point, was also a local government chairman, he told us, when the local governments were functional. Thank you very much once again for coming.
Thank you, sir.
And viewers, this is a wrap on today's package of Daily Politics. We do hope you had the conversation engaging and informative. If you do, join us tomorrow. We'll be back with another interesting topics and personalities. Until then, I'm Shafiu Suleiman, thanking you for investing your time with us.